Welcome back to Ben's Book Club. Today, we are diving into the book Principles, Life and Work. So right off the bat, I want to say this isn't just another billionaire's memoir. It's something else entirely. The author, Ray Dalio, he basically wrote down his entire operating manual for success. He looks at life and business not as some great mystery, but, well, like a machine. A machine that you can actually understand, fix, and make better over time. And that's really the big idea, isn't it? Dalio argues that most of the time when we fail, it's not random. The mistakes are predictable, and if we just had the right set of principles and actually use them, we could avoid them. He really believes you can build a system to get almost anything you want. But here's the thing. This whole system, it wasn't built on a foundation of win after win. Not at all. It was actually forged in the fire of one massive, very public, and very painful failure. I mean, just look at this trajectory. He starts Bridgewater out of his apartment back in '75, and things are going well. But then, boom, 1982. He makes this huge bet on the economy, and he is spectacularly wrong. He lost everything. He had to fire all his employees, and he was so broke, he literally had to borrow $4,000 from his dad just to get by. It was from that absolute rock bottom that this whole philosophy started to take shape. And this question, this is what changed everything. See, before the crash, his whole attitude was pretty much, I'm right. But that public humiliation, it forced him to ask a much, much more powerful question. How do I know I'm right? And that simple shift from just being certain to actually questioning how you know something, well, that's the foundation for this entire book. Okay, so that really humbling experience led him to develop what he calls his life principles. You can honestly think of them like the software, the core operating system for making better decisions and just evolving as a person. And this right here, this is probably his most famous formula. Pain plus reflection equals progress. His whole argument is that our natural instinct is to run away from pain, right? To avoid our mistakes. He says that is completely backwards. Pain isn't the enemy. It's a signal. It's like a smoke alarm going off, telling you, hey, pay attention. Something here is broken and needs to be fixed. So how do you actually turn that pain into real progress? Well, Dalio lays out this really simple, repeatable 5-step loop. Now, it might look kind of obvious, but he says most of us get totally stuck on step 2, identifying the problems. And why is that? It's because we hate confronting our own weaknesses. This whole process is designed to force you to look in the mirror and face that reality head on. Okay, so that's the personal side of things. But what happens when you take these same ideas about truth and reality and try to run a whole company with them? Well, that's where things get really interesting. He calls it an idea meritocracy. The goal here is basically to rip ego and office politics right out of the decision-making process. At his company Bridgewater, basically all meetings are recorded, feedback is constant, and it can be brutally direct. The only thing that's supposed to matter is getting to the best answer, not protecting somebody's feelings. This chart does a great job of breaking it down. Dalio thinks that both democracy, where every opinion gets an equal vote, and autocracy, where only the boss matters, are just flawed systems. In his idea meritocracy, opinions are weighted by what he calls believability, which is really just your track record of being right about stuff. It's like if you're in an operating room, you're going to give way more weight to the surgeon's opinion than the first-year interns, right? That's believability weighting in a nutshell. So, okay, Dalio built this massive, successful company based on all these principles. But that brings us to the real question, right? Could this system actually work for the rest of us? Or is it something that only really functions in a super unique, high-stakes place like a hedge fund that's run by its founder? Seriously, think about it for a second. Would you really want every single mistake you make at work recorded and then openly discussed with all of your colleagues? Dalio argues it's liberating because you get to the truth way faster. But you have to wonder, where's the line between radical truth and just a toxic culture of fear? Dalio is constantly talking about overriding your emotional, lower-level self with your rational, higher-level self. He thinks our brains are just wired for survival, not for making complex, long-term decisions. But if we treat our minds like a machine, do we risk filtering out really important stuff like intuition, empathy, or even creativity? And finally, this whole believability weighting idea. I mean, who gets to decide who is believable? Is it really a system for finding the best ideas? Or could it just be a fancy new way to reinforce the power of the people who are already at the top, and maybe even silence different points of view? It's a really crucial question. And in the end, this is really the challenge the book leaves us with. Whether you agree with all of his methods or not, the core idea is this relentless, ego-free pursuit of what is actually true, so you can get what you really want out of life. And that's a pretty powerful thought to chew on. So, what do you think? Is this a genius blueprint for life, or is it totally unrealistic for most people? Let us know what you think in the comments. And hey, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss an episode.